All right, good morning. Happy Wednesday. Thank you everyone for joining us or watching later. My name is Kelly Thawley. I am a career specialist here at the School District of Lee County. I'm also joined by my teammates, Brandy, who's also a career specialist, Nicole, and Jeremy, who are teachers on assignment over specific career clusters. So thank you, team. I want to give a special thank you to our speakers today. We have Stephen Nowell. He is the Aviation Program Director at Charlotte Technical College. And we also have Ben Bolanio, who is the area recruiter for Penske Truck Rentals. We did have one other speaker on, but he had a last-minute conflict. So we will catch up with Bill and Waste Pro on another one, probably next year, because this is our very last and final Career Ed Talks for the 2021 school year. I will do a quick screen share. And for our 17th Career Ed Talk, we are focusing on the career field of transportation, distribution, and logistics. So that consists of 5 different pathways: marketing management, professional sales, merchandising, marketing communications, marketing research. So if you're a student in one of these fields, you are probably preparing for a career in planning, managing, performing marketing activities to reach organizational objectives. This can include customer service representatives, store managers, public relation managers. It's also part of automotive, outboard marine. So you can see down here our high school programs. I know here in Lee County, we offer a lot of automotive maintenance and light repair programs, automotive collision technology, outboard marine service technology, automotive collision repair. And I don't think that we have any global logistics and supply chain technology, but that's also another top high school program. Over 13,000 enrollments in our high school programs. Not so many in middle school. It's definitely focused more at the high school level. Over here, you can see some of the top certifications and those industry certifications that are offered at a high school level to get our students ready to go before they even graduate high school. And then this down here is just one example of an articulation pathway. If you take auto maintenance in high school, that can articulate to 3 credits towards your AS degree. So that could possibly save you $320 in state college tuition savings. So as far as post-secondary and employment, in the state of Florida, there are over 7,000 post-secondary programs in this field. The top programs are automotive service technology, aviation, power plant mechanics, automotive collision technology, aviation airframe mechanics, and commercial vehicle driving. So you can see how that goes down. Top certifications, the very top one is the FAA Aviation Maintenance Technician. Second is the ASE Electrical Electronic Systems, and third is the ASE Brakes. It is definitely high growth, high wage, and many openings every year, over 2,000 openings. So students, if this is something that you're interested in, it's definitely a good field, has good outlook for the future. I will also show this. Normally I show this at the end, but I'm going to show it today because today is the 2nd of June. So it is our very final, very last Career Ed Talk. You can catch all of these Career Ed Talks on our YouTube channel. You just do a search for Lee County CTE and you can find all of our videos. And today is number 17. All right, well, we'll go ahead and get started. Thank you again to both of our speakers for being here. We very much appreciate you taking time out of your busy days to speak to our students. So let's go ahead and get started. Stephen, I'll start with you. And can you just kind of give us an overview of your backgrounds, any certifications, the type of education that you had to pursue, and what it is that you do exactly?
Okay, my name is Stephen Nowell, and I have been in aviation for a little over 50 years. I started right out of high school. I ended up getting into the service, the Navy, working on airplanes. I worked in the Navy for 24 years on various types of aircraft. I retired from the Navy and went right back to school. I have a master's degree in education, combined with my airframe and power plant certification that I attained after school because I wanted to teach in that field. I'm currently the program director at Charlotte Technical College in Port Charlotte, and we have a program that encompasses high school students and adults as well, ultimately ending up with an airframe and power plant certification so they can work in general and commercial aviation.
Thank you. And let's jump over to Ben. Can you share kind of the same things about yourself?
Sure. So thanks for having me. My name is Ben Bolanio, and I'm the area recruiter for Penske Truck Leasing. And my main responsibility is just basically to attract talent to all of our positions that we have in the state of Florida. So I cover most of all the districts in Florida from north, south, west to east, with well over hundreds of careers, whether they're supporting or administrative or management trainee positions. And then specifically the diesel truck driver repair maintenance positions where there are plenty. And from a Penske perspective, we've had a lot of growth. And so definitely a lot of opportunities that I have available at Penske. And I've been around in the field of recruiting for well over 20 years. Went to school down south and did my MBA. But sort of, I'm pretty much passionate about the HR recruiting field, and I've been around for quite some time.
Awesome, thank you. So students, you can see that there's very vast choices that you have within this career pathway. So many different things that you can choose to do within transportation and logistics. Let's go back to Stephen. What made you choose this career? I know that you have a military background, and I don't know if that played into it at all, but how did you end up where you are? What kind of made you choose that? Was it something you were passionate about, or was it more about the opportunities?
Well, it was really a combination of both. Aviation is an industry that has such a various attributes to it. You can get into different fields and those types of things, but I was enthralled with the idea of solving problems, fixing situations that you don't know the fix to it. If you're a good problem solver, it's an intriguing area to get into because you literally repair a piece of equipment that carries people and airplanes and lives and things like that. But it's addictive from that standpoint because every day is different. Every different problem is different. And I just got into the solving portion of it. And as I grew with the experience, I decided it was time for me to share those tools in my toolbox, if you could use that term, so that I don't waste all the effort and energy that I put into it. I wanted to share those experiences with students so that they could grow their careers and enhance their future, because it is a very high paying position. Currently, we're probably going to be in the next 15 to 20 years, 500,000 A&Ps short. And I think it's a very rewarding career. If you're willing to travel, the money becomes very, very lucrative.
Awesome, thank you. And that's a good point too. So students, if you want to travel, this is a good career field to get into. You can go many different places, and even especially if you wanted to stay here in Southwest Florida, we have multiple airports locally. So lots of opportunity with aviation. Ben, what about you? What are some things that you're passionate about, and how did that kind of help play into your role now?
I think I learned something new from the different candidates that I interview and screen and have conversations about, whether again, they're in the field of repair and maintenance, or the administrative support, or even management. They always bring in so many experiences, right? And as you alluded to it, there's definitely a lot of opportunities both here in the Southwest area, as well as areas, within Florida and outside of Florida. Since at Penske, we are represented in over 49 states, and then worldwide to include Canada, Mexico, some of Europe, from different business segments like logistics, supply chain management, you name it. And so there's definitely a lot of opportunities, and my passion is just getting, those candidates in to make careers at Penske.
Awesome. Thank you. Stephen, you had mentioned that every day is different. So let's go into a little more detail about what your typical day looks like. Is it normally a 9 to 5? Are you in an office? Are you in a classroom? Does it change from day to day? So we'll start with Stephen. What's your typical day look like?
Okay, the typical day right now is very non-typical, if you will. Our students right now, we don't have any students in the program because it doesn't start until this fall in August. But a typical day for me would be 6:45 till 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the afternoon, because I'm the program manager. But my day really revolves around making sure that all of the classes come in session, all of the projects are set up. We are in an extended campus location at the Punta Gorda Airport, where all the advanced airframe and power plants classes are taught. We're on the flight line. You could look out my window and see 7 Allegiant A318 Airbus airplanes right down the ramp 200 yards away. So it's pretty exciting being here every day. But my typical day would be just overseeing the whole process and ensuring that everything runs smoothly so that the students get as much exposure to their education as possible.
Awesome. And that's the cool thing about a technical college versus maybe, students, what you might have in mind as college is more of that 2 or 4 year university where you're on a campus. Whereas here at Charlotte Technical, as you heard Stephen say, they're right next to the airport. So you are right there, you're involved in it. It is very much hands-on. So if you're considering post-secondary options, definitely don't discount our technical colleges, especially if you know that you are a hands-on learner, because that may be a really good route for you to go.
Well, one of the positive, one of the positive things about this program is that the Florida Southwestern State College, we have an articulation agreement with them. And once you pass your airframe and your power plant courses and get your certificate, they will award you 60 hours of college credit towards your associate's degree. And then if you wanted to go on to pursue your bachelor's, obviously that would be a very big step into it. So it's really kind of a plus for everyone because you're earning college credit. And if you happen to be in high school and you're taking advanced AP classes, you're already working on that 30 extra hours for your associate's degree. So it's a great program.
Definitely. Thank you so much for bringing that up too. It's a really cool partnership and articulation agreement that you have with FSW, whereas FSW may not have the capacity to do some of the things that you can at Charlotte Tech. So that's wonderful that program's in place for our students. And it's probably something, I know I just learned about that. So it's probably something that a lot of our students didn't know about either. So thank you for sharing that. Ben, what does a typical day look like for you?
For me, it's basically reaching out to tech schools, deepening those relationships that I have. Love talking to some of the tech students, specifically in the diesel programs or the automotive programs, just to give them some insight, right? The ins and outs of some of the positions. Each of our positions, whether they're entry level or more on the master tech level positions, they pretty much have their own job descriptions, job responsibilities, and it's a matter of just sharing, what the day-to-day looks like for those positions to our students. And it's great to just be able to work with them. So that's basically what I do, whether they're recruiting events, informational sessions, one-on-one mentoring. A lot of the tech students that are coming on board, they may know, they may be very knowledgeable around the industry, on the technical side. They'll bring in a lot of great things. But in terms of interviewing and perhaps conversations, love to do a lot of work around that through mentorships and different type of workshops. So yeah, that's what I basically do.
What would you say is a typical day for someone that you would interview and bring in to work maybe on more of the mechanical side of things?
Sure. So take, for instance, our technician 3 position. They mainly focus on preventative maintenance of our trucks, right? And so they basically meet and greet our customers. They bring in their trucks to the bay and basically process different components of the trucks and complete their preventative maintenance. What's neat about Penske is that we have pretty much our own gear. Technology is very big at Penske. And so what you would think of preventative maintenance process with other employers here at Penske, we're basically, as a technician, you're wearing a headset and you're interacting with our system. And our system walks each technician through each component of that vehicle or truck as they, they do the maintenance on them, whether they're fluids or tires or batteries, whatnot. They go through the entire process. At that point, if the technician identifies either repairs or further maintenance that need to get done on that truck, well, then they go ahead and they order their parts again through technology. And so our systems are pretty much well aware about what that truck is about. And that's the neat thing about it, is that technicians can unknown caller. Our software, our programs to be able to determine the story of the truck, of that equipment before they even touch it. And so it's a pretty cool system that we have here and to share with our techs.
That's really neat. What an inventive way to incorporate technology into, something that you wouldn't normally think would have that much technology. So that's awesome. All right, let me look and see. Okay, does your job, what type of personality traits do you think work well for the job that you do on a daily basis or for the jobs that you hire for? What type of character traits and personality traits would you recommend students that have these traits look into this field? Stephen, what do you think?
I think probably one of the best characteristics that we look for, or I recommend to any prospective students, is that they have a desire to solve problems. The job itself is pretty straightforward because you have to follow instruction manuals for maintenance manuals to solve normal problems. But when there's a troubleshooting issue, you have to be creative in your thought pattern to solve that issue, because you're responsible for not only the hydraulics, the pneumatics, the electronics, the electrical, the engine, the propeller. You own the airplane. So anything and everything that could go wrong, you will need to be able to resolve so that the pilot can use the airplane again. So it's that creative spontaneity of solving problems that we really look for. You have to be very outgoing.
Thank you. Ben, what do you suggest personality traits? Oh, you're on mute.
I definitely think that solution-driven, self-driven, and proactive approach to things definitely is one of the things that we look for. In addition to just, to be detailed oriented as well as a team player, right? Because not only will you be as a technician working alone, but sometimes you do need to partner with other technicians, and it's okay to ask questions, right? It's okay to have that collaborative type of mentality at the same time. So those would be the things that I definitely would look for.
Thank you. I think just in life in general, having, being a little bit self-motivated and having the grit to stick with something and try to problem solve and figure out a solution for your problems is across the board a really good trait to have. What advice would you give to our high school students right now if they are looking for a career in this field? What's something that they could be working on right now to get them prepared for whatever their next step might be? Let's go to Ben first.
I would say read through the different career sites. Look into the transportation industry, ask questions, learn what's out there in terms of technology and what the industry is calling for. First and foremost, as you select whatever program it is, whether you decide to do tech programs or secondary or colleges or universities, whatever that may be, you want to make sure that you know the environment, the cultures that are out there when it comes to, as it relates to employers, whether it's Penske or direct or indirect competitors. See what's out there before you do, and then ask your questions as you're selecting the programs that you're going to choose to go into.
Advice. Stephen, what can our students be working on now?
I agree with Ben. You need to look at the areas that would be able to use the skills that you acquire in this particular program. When we do our presentations to the high schools and to the parents, it's pretty much you can be anything you want to be with this certificate. You do not have to work on aviation. Aviation is such a huge industry that you could be working for a manufacturer that makes parts for the airplanes. You could work for a manufacturer that puts airplanes together. You could work for a wind. You could work for shipping. You could work anywhere that there is jet engines, where there are power plants. The opportunities for you as an airframe and power plant mechanic are just unlimited. You have the expertise to repair electrical. You can troubleshoot motherboards. You will have the expertise to resolve hydraulic issues. You can just about fix anything. I know that in my neighborhood, and I tell all my students this, that pretty much everybody in the neighborhood knows that I repair things that are broken. So they bring me things, this doesn't work anymore, and I'll troubleshoot it and find out what's wrong with it, give it back to them. But they will have that skill. So it's not just the industry skills that you'll acquire personal skills that you'll be able to use in your future. This particular program we created for the underclassmen, the sophomores and juniors, a feeder program, and we call it aircraft assembly. And in that particular, it's a 2-year program. They take as sophomores and juniors, and then their senior year, they come into the general, which is the first step for the airframe and power plant certification. But they get a certification after the aircraft assembly. So they technically will be able to, after graduation, not work on airplanes, but go to a work for an assembly plant, assembling aircraft parts, assembling anything or any components. They've learned those processes and regulations through that particular program. And we really feel that that creates that interest. And if you're not interested in it, you can decide to go someplace else. But we wanted to give them an opportunity to see what they're going to get into for the rest of their lives, because this is a career decision. And it comes along at a very, very opportune time while you're in high school deciding what you want to be when you grow up. So we've got a great program right now. I think we've got some dynamic students in it, and we've got some great adults signing up for it as well.
Can you share a little bit more, Stephen, about the program and exactly how it works and who?
Yes, absolutely.
Enroll?
The program really is a 3-step process. You come in as a senior if you're in high school, and you spend your entire senior year studying what we call the general portion of the airframe and power plant. It's 450 hours long, and because you need to give up 3 or 4 of your periods as a senior, and most seniors today only have 2 or 3 classes left to take anyway, so that is available to them to do that. They take the 450 hours of general, then they graduate, and as adults, they return and come out to here to the extended campus on the airport to do their airframe studying, which is 1,350 hours. So they would start, a typical session would be spend your entire year as a senior, come out here in August, start airframe, finish that the following June, start power plant in August again, and finish the program in 2023. You'll graduate and sit for your exams with the FAA. An adult, on the other hand, starts the program fresh. So like this fall, we're to have 2 adult classes starting. They start general in August. They finish in October. They start power plant in November. They finish in May. They start August again. They're ending in March of 23 because they're going full time. They're doing 6 3/4 hours a day versus the high schooler who only can do an hour and a half, 2 hours a day. So, but it's a very rewarding process, and it's sequentially, because it's dictated to by the FAA, it's sequentially sequenced so that you will finish in about an 18-month time frame.
Wow, that's awesome. What an awesome program that you guys have put together. So thank you for that. Let's move on to our next question. I do want to kind of do a little break here. Kevin, do you have any questions? Do you think your students have any questions? Usually when we have students on here, we pause and let them ask. Okay. Well, what about, this is a question that students always ask. Do you have any memorable stories? The students always like to hear stories. So something in your mind that stands out where it was either something funny or maybe not the best case scenario, but you learned something from it. So any specific stories that stick out in your mind? And I'll let either Stephen or Ben, whichever one of you thinks of something first, you're welcome to jump in.
Wow, stories. I could tell you a million stories. I was stationed in Hawaii. I was a flight engineer, and we flew P3. It's a multi-engine turboprop aircraft. And we're living in Hawaii. Of course, it's the same day, 80 degrees, windy, great every day. And we had to fly to Adak, Alaska for a relocate, which is simply just go there, you see what's going on, and then you fly back. It's like a transportation exercise. And we got there, I don't know, 2 or 3 in the afternoon. We parked the airplane, we went in to check into the barracks, and we come back out the next morning and it's like 18 below zero. The airplane had to be moved into the hangar because we couldn't even get the doors open. It was so cold. And one of the fellas had forgotten his foul weather gear. And you don't think when you move from 80 degrees to below zero that you would need, equipment like that. We're only going to go for 1 day. But episodes like that, when you're flying and in aviation, you just need to be prepared when you go and do things like that. It was the same way in Japan, going north in Japan. It was a great career. I enjoyed it. I learned a lot and had a lot of fun times.
Awesome, thank you. Ben, what about you? Any interesting stories? Oh, you're on mute.
So most recently I had one of my tech students at one of the schools that reached out to me. He was interested in working part-time at Penske in one of our locations. So I scheduled a meeting with him for about an hour, started having the conversations, and I just didn't understand anything that he was saying. He really wasn't aware of the program that he was involved in, was having just a lot of, in terms of interviewing skills, they weren't there. And so what I basically wanted to do with him is I just loved his personality, great approach. And you could tell that he wanted to be passionate about the program that he was in. He just wasn't too aware of it. So I went ahead and I scheduled some additional time. He and I have been working on and off for a period of about 2 months. in sort of like in a mentorship type of setting. And he was recently hired as the customer service representative at the fuel station. And it's just a neat story because that's what that's what I'm about. And I really enjoy those type of stories.
That is such a cool story, especially, for all of us in education. That's why we're here. That's what we want to see students succeed. And kudos to you for helping him and taking the time to mentor him for a couple of months. And mentorship is something that's come up multiple times throughout these career ed talks. So students, if you are interested in a specific career field, whether it is logistics and transportation or something else, find someone that's already doing it and try to learn from them. Even if it's not the specific career field, if you can find someone that can help you with some of your skills. So as Ben said, he just helped him with his interview skills. And now, this student is hired as a customer service representative. So they are the face of the company. So finding someone that can help you with maybe a skill that you're lacking or something that you need a little extra practice on. Finding a mentor is definitely important if you're thinking career-wise. Stephen, anything to add to that thought about a mentor?
I think that's probably one of the most important things, because when you get out into the field, really, we tell our students that when you get your airframe and power plant certificate, all it is a license to learn. And when you get out into the field, typically you always will be assigned to a mentor, and that mentor will guide you through the process of learning and doing those types of things. I know that there are regulations that state, even though you're certified, that you cannot do certain functions without having performed that function previously. So mentoring with someone is almost always, and as Ben said earlier, getting in a team effort, working with other people is a very important characteristic that we look for. Because you have to share your thoughts, share your ideas, and mentoring is an excellent opportunity for that to take place.
Thank you. For this next question, I'm going to start with Ben because you're in this every day. What workforce gaps do you see in this specific field? What, especially right now, I know it's post-COVID, it seems like everyone is needing to hire and people are having a hard time finding work. So what is your biggest gap at Penske?
I think from an industry standpoint, specifically on the technician side, some of the, and I'm not sure if there are work gaps or not, there are gaps in those technicians that are skilled on the electrical side or more diagnostics. Stephen alluded to this earlier, which was, that solutions-driven type of mentality. Well, yes, and add to that, the diagnostic piece is huge, and that not only it's great to have those skills around that, but that you're good at, or that you're interested more so, that you're interested in the diagnostic piece, not just the basics. And so I would think that those are our main challenges. And then in addition to that, the technology piece, your level of comfort with technology and smart devices as you get into the industry.
And Stephen, what do you see in aviation? What are some of the workforce gaps right now?
Well, pretty much across the board, there's gaps everywhere. My advisory board is made up of, I think, 19 different companies, of which 17 are aviation related. And every single one of them wants to hire my graduates. Of course, I don't have any yet, but we are partnered with Allegiant Airlines, and they've said the same thing. We will hire every single graduate that you have. And across the board, I think every school that is in the process of graduating students pretty much can guarantee that they will be hired before they leave school. I went to Embry-Riddle in Daytona, And the last semester of the process, pretty much everybody that was in the industry came to hire us and offered us jobs. And at that time, it wasn't real competitive. If you wanted to go to work for Boeing or Sikorsky or United or whoever it might have been, you know, you listen to what their offer was, and then you said, okay, I'll join. Today, I fully expect that to be a bidding war because of the shortages that we have. I expect my students by the end of their last semester will be pursued by these companies to the point of, well, I'll offer you 50,000 to start. Well, no, I'll give you 60. It'll be that type of situation. You can pretty much guarantee if you get your airframe and power plant certificate, you will start somewhere between $45,000 and $55,000 to start. And there are companies that if you wanted to move up north, they're willing to give you signing bonuses. I mean, it's becoming very, very competitive, and the job openings are everywhere.
That's good for our students to hear. So students, if this is a passion of yours and something that you're interested in, it doesn't sound like you'll have any issues finding a job. Stephen, you kind of talked a little bit about the starting pay, and with that certificate, that was a 2-year certificate, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so that's a pretty awesome start. I mean, I know as a teacher with a 4-year degree, we started about 45. So for students coming out with a 2-year degree or a 2-year certification, 18 months, sometimes you said 18-month certification coming out and being able to make 50,000, that's pretty awesome. That's awesome. And then just room for growth from there.
Yes, it is. One thing too, Kelly, I wanted to point out that because we're a state school, okay, your tuition is based on $2.92 per hour. So you can get your airframe and power plant certificate completed for less than $10,000. If you were to go up to Tampa and take one of the programs up there, you're going to pay between $50,000 and $60,000 for the same program. So in a sense, you're investing $10,000 and you have no college debt, because most of my students will qualify for Pell, they'll qualify for FIFA, they'll have money available that will pay for their program to get through this and have no student debt at the end of it, along with the college credits that will be awarded when they're successful and they're taking their exams. So it's just such a life decision and changing program that we're fully loaded right now because we're limited to the number of students that we can take, and I anticipate that every year to be that way for a long time.
That's a good problem to have for you guys too, right?
Excellent.
And that brings up a good point, students. Financial aid and the cost of education. After high school, it's no longer free, but there are definitely grants and financial aid available for you. You have to make sure that you fill out that FAFSA, the free application for federal student aid. So that's my push for FAFSA. Make sure that once you are a senior, you fill that out. It opens October 1st of your senior year to go in and fill that out. And whether you think you qualify or not, you should totally do it because you never know. And the equation that they use makes no sense. So the only way to really find out if you qualify is to complete it. It's not that hard. There's always opportunities. I know local groups here that are helping students complete those financial aid applications. So take advantage when you see your high school offer something. And I believe this year the Pell Grant is over $6,000, and that's for 1 year. So if the total program is $10,000, you could possibly complete that program for totally free and have no student debt, which is awesome. And then finish in 2 years and you're making $50,000, and that's going right to your pocket. Nothing going back for student loans. So that's amazing. Ben, what about for you at Penske? What are kind of some of the starting rates and the growth rate? What are some options for students?
I think one of the greatest things about Penske is the different levels that we have within the tech job families, right? And so we typically start as someone with no experience at the fuel station, possibly doing washing, detailing, fueling at a rate average of perhaps anywhere between $17 to $19 an hour, depending on the actual location or area within Florida. You go into a Tech 3 position, which is entry level to the shop, at a rate of anywhere between $20 to $23 an hour, moving up to a Tech 2. Now the lifespan between a CSR, customer service, to a Tech 3 could be less than a year, meaning that you could have an actual bump and increase into that compensation within that year. Then once you get in from a Tech 3 to a Tech 2, right? It may take about maybe an additional year and a half to be able to get some internal certifications. If you're coming in with, like, say, for instance, your ASC certifications, the likelihood of you moving from Tech 3 to a Tech 2 is a lot shorter, a lot greater, right? And then as we move on to a lead tech, then you're looking at, your mid to high 20s at an hourly rate. And these, for the most part, are paid on a weekly basis, where you have your full compensation benefit package to include our pension plan, 401k, in addition to your traditional medical, vision, dental, so on and so forth. So it's a total comp package that quite competitive in comparison or to our indirect competitors.
Ben, those are some good points too, as far as thinking about salary or hourly pay. You also have to take into account the students if they are offering you a 401k. So that would be for your retirement. That would be money after you finish. And I know as high school students, you're just starting a career, so that's not something that's a priority. But down the road, it will become something that is a priority because you want to live a good life after you finish your career. So a company that helps you contribute to a 401k is awesome. Medical, dental benefits, those are all things to think about. If you don't have those benefits, you could be paying up to $400, $500 a month just for some of that insurance coverage. So if you have a company that is willing to take that cost and include you in their plan, that's, even though it's not money in your pocket, it's definitely added benefit, added incentive. So
we also have tuition reimbursement as part of our benefit package. So in the event that you want to pursue, other degrees, get into more of a management within the maintenance area, that's definitely doable, definitely supported by our leadership. And we definitely want someone, whether you stay on this technical side or go into a leadership role, leveraging tuition reimbursement to for those 4-year degrees.
And an awesome pathway for our students. Thank you. Do you have any, I know Stephen talked about the military a little bit, but any background, jobs, experiences that kind of helped lead you to where you are now? For example, did you change your major because of a life event or meeting someone or an experience that you had? Or did you take a job that you learned from but you maybe didn't enjoy? So either of you care to share anything from that perspective?
I guess when I got out of the military, aviation was obviously something that I was very interested in, but I went back to school to get my college degree. I was going to get a biology degree because I really like science and I love those types of things, investigative, finding out why, doing hypotheses and things like that. So I was pursuing a biology degree when I initially got out of the service. And then once I got it, Then I started looking at technology, and I went back to Jacksonville University to get my master's degree in technology, and I studied computers and IT, which is where my master's degree is in. And then I just applied it to aviation. I filled out a substitute when I first moved down here from up north. I filled out a substitute request and turned it into the county, and it wasn't 30 minutes later, I get a call and say, would you like to teach aeronautics? And of course, I just went through the ceiling. I was excited about it, and I've been in it ever since. And that was what, 21 years ago, 22 years ago. So yeah, it's just education and teaching and seeing that all look in their eyeballs when they get a concept that's difficult to understand and they get it. That's to me, that's what teaching really should be all about, is that aha moment from the student's perspective.
What a cool way that your passions and your experiences all kind of play together.
Yes.
Ben, what about you? Any jobs or experiences that helped lead you to where you are now?
So when I completed my 4-year degree, I sort of fell into the world of recruiting and staffing, and I sort of fell in love with it, very passionate about. I tried then completing my MBA, which I did, but then sort of like stayed within the HR staffing again, because I tried different areas or different careers, but always saw myself back in recruiting. And it's because I think my personality calls for it, bottom line. And I just love helping people transition into different careers. What I can tell you about the technicians that have come in from different areas within transportation or within the technical side. So for instance, I've been getting a lot of the automotive students over to the diesel program, and it hasn't been the other way around. So what's interesting about it, be open and flexible and knowing that perhaps you might start in an automotive type of program and then fall into. I too have hired folks from the aviation industry. I hired for aviation for quite a few years, all different type of careers. But it's neat to see, you know, that type of movement within industries, within careers that you choose. But at the end of the day, try to be a little bit flexible, knowing that your mind can change at any time.
Awesome, thank you. Well, I do want to make sure that I'm respectful of your time. We have about 10 minutes left. So we're gonna go to kind of the last two questions. What do you think your industry will look like 5 years or 10 years down the road? What types of changes, maybe with technology, but looking at an outlook for 10 years down the road, what do you think you see coming up in your industry? Stephen?
Wow, 10 years down the road. That would be difficult really to guess what technology might be available down the road. I know that like today, as a maintenance technician working in the field, you literally can take the library with you on an iPad out to the airplane. You can do your work, sign everything off, order parts. You can do everything from a technology perspective today that way. But I just can't imagine, you know, what it's going to be like in the future. I know it's only going to get better, but still what's going to happen to aircraft? Are aircraft going to change? Are aircraft going to, you know, that beam me up, Scotty technology, you know, those kinds of things. And no one can say. I mean, with batteries, the way that they're improving battery life, aircraft propulsion, it's just no way to know. It's going to be an ever-ending, it's just going to go on and on and on. So to predict what it's going to be, I just can't do that. I mean, I'm not an engineer. I'm not the guy sitting with the drawing board, but I know that there's some good things coming. And opportunities are just going to grow and grow and grow. Experience in the field, the things that you learn now will definitely enhance your ability to change with that future changes. So it's just going to be a positive for everybody.
Yeah, and I think you alluded to as well, constantly learning and changing. Things are always changing. So students, you're going to constantly be learning, even with the skills that you're gaining now, you'll need to add on to those skills as the times change. Ben, what about for you? What do you see in your business 10 years down the road?
I totally encourage all the students to get onto the Penske website and start reading about the electrical side of the business as we move into more electrical trucks. However, the infrastructure, right, is not there yet. We're starting to build that, but there's a lot of great energy, a lot of movement, a lot of research, and other things that are being done around the electrical side and the rebuilding of or building of that infrastructure. So definitely that's the right way to go. From a recruiter staffing standpoint, I need to become a superhero because it's very challenging to just capture the new talent. And Stephen mentioned that some of the shortages that we're having as it relates to talent coming on board or identifying it.
Well, it's an exciting time to be in this career field for sure. And yeah, if you could just clone yourself, right, Ben?
Yeah.
Last question, we'll wrap it up. And this one's just a little more personal. If you could go back to your high school self, so if you could talk to your 16, 17-year-old self with all of the life experiences that you have now, what is something that you would tell your high school self? And it can be career-wise, it can be life-wise, any lessons learned over all of your experiences. And we'll start with Ben. What would you tell your high school self?
Don't worry so much. Listen to your heart and go with that. Listen, do what makes you happy. Just listen to your heart.
Very good advice. And Stephen?
Well, I have to agree with Ben, because if I knew what I know now and the passion that my industry provides, I would go with exactly what Ben said. Listen to your heart. Do the things that make you happy. Let's see, how can I say this politically correct? I'm way past retiring age, but I have no interest in retiring because I love what I do. I'm very passionate about it, and I want to make sure that that passion that's in me is shared with the younger folks that have that passion and don't know how to direct it, don't know what to do with it. So I would tell my high school self, just do what you've done and stay at it.
Thank you. Well, thank you both so much. This was a really good final career ed talk. So I'm so happy to have both of you, especially because you can tell how passionate you each are with what you're doing and with your jobs. So I love that you have found what you enjoy and you found a way to kind of channel your passions into careers so that every day when you wake up, you don't go to your job, you're doing what you love to do. And that's all we could ever hope for our students, is to help them figure out what their passions are and then how they can incorporate that into a career where they can make money and give back to our community and have successful families. So thank you both to Stephen and Ben. Thank you for joining us. Thank you to all my teammates and students. You're almost there. It's almost the end of the year. So just keep with it. And we will see you all next year. We'll have a new series of career ed talks. We'll be planning those over the summer. So stay tuned for next year. And thank you again to our speakers and everyone who's helped us out this season.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, everyone.
Great job, Kelly.
Thank you.